Hello, Internet! If you're new here, welcome to my channel. If you're not, you probably noticed that I took a break from the internet recently. Long story short, I was dealing with some health issues for a while that prevented me from making content. And while I was gone, there were some big changes in the US, like a presidential election. And I'm honestly so happy that election season is over. I was so frustrated with the constant texts and phone calls and flyers and ads and people knocking on my door trying to tell me who to vote for. Of course, all of it filled with lies and propaganda and imagery that was supposed to tear at my heartstrings and make me forget all logic and reason when it came to my vote. For me, this was the first election where campaigning felt like harassment, and I wish I could get a restraining order against everyone involved in it. But besides that nightmare, this election was particularly frustrating for me because really ever since Donald Trump and Kamala Harris were announced officially as the presidential nominees, I just felt really mentally checked out. I just didn't care who won this election. And this isn't to say that I don't care about who's running the country. I care a lot. Talking about politics is my entire platform, and I do it because I care about the US. I really care about my country. But this election, we had two terrible, and I mean equally terrible options. They were both bad when it came to economic issues. You had Trump with his tariffs and Kamala Harris with her price controls, both which would have led to economic disaster. Neither of them respect the First Amendment. Harris was advocating for hate speech laws, and Trump was advocating to take away licenses from media outlets that publish misinformation, or as he calls it, fake news. They both hate the Second Amendment. Trump pushed for red flag laws and Harris wanted to ban assault weapons. Neither trust you to manage your own health. The Harris administration wanted to mandate vaccines while the Trump administration wants to tell you what you can and cannot eat. They both suck at international politics. Trump would abandon our allies and let Putin take over Europe, while Harris would have pulled support from Israel and have allowed terrorists screaming death to America to take over the Middle East. Neither of them advocated for individualism. Kamala Harris would have continued pushing for DEI identity politics, while Trump is fanning the flames of nationalism. I know there are going to be so many people in my comments who are going to be so mad at me for saying this. And they're going to say, well, you can't honestly say that you don't think one's worse than the other. If you want to spend time splitting hairs trying to determine who is the fractionally, marginally lesser of two evils here, you go ahead and do you. But I do not see that as a productive use of my time. The reality is there wasn't a small government, liberty-oriented candidate this election, despite what the libertarians are trying to convince themselves about Trump. There wasn't a candidate who was going to improve the economy, fight for our rights, and stand with America's allies. We gave two idiot authoritarians who will drag our country down as far as it can go the chance at the highest levels of political power that we offer in this country. But to be honest, we were screwed even before they were announced as candidates because you can see all of their ideas so heavily embedded in current political discourse. I have spent my entire social media career defending Western civilization, classical liberalism, freedom, innovation, and individualism. It's the reason why I spent so much time over the last year, over a year at this point, talking about Israel. Hamas's attack on Israel was an explicit attack on Western culture. They attacked because Israelis would not bow down and surrender to living under a barbaric, primitive dictatorship. And seeing so many Americans and people living in the luxury of Western countries defending Hamas and what they did was honestly, it's been so depressing and infuriating, but it exposed such a huge issue in our culture that we are losing the war of ideas, especially when it comes to young people. So many people do not understand where the success and abundance and human flourishing that we have in Western countries, they don't understand where it comes from. They think freedom and individualism and innovation are evil and are the causes of all of the problems in the world when that is the exact opposite of the truth. And this hatred of American values, of Western civilization, of the Constitution, of the founders of this country is what we are seeing reflected not only in online culture war discussions or discussions about international policy, but also in our elections. Our country is on a mission to self-destruction, and so many people either don't realize it or don't care. There are a growing number of people who are voting both Democrat and Republican who, whether in full knowledge of what they're doing or by willful ignorance, are leading our country to ruin. And changing this, getting people to understand why America and Western countries are so great and how to keep making them great, That change is not going to happen at the polling booths. It's our broken culture, our broken education system, our broken entertainment and media, our broken influencers and intellectuals that have gotten us to this point. And there are really only two ways to get out of this. Either one, we continue going down this path, we run our country into the ground, or at least further into ruin before we recognize and reverse the problem. Or the second option is people start waking up now and realizing that things don't have to be this way. We don't have to sit here and try to split hairs to determine which authoritarian is marginally worse. We can support and elect candidates who advocate for capitalism, liberalism, individualism. Candidates whose policies will give us the freedom to fix the mistakes of past administrations. But again, that dream is a lot further down the line. For now, the biggest obstacle is to get people's heads out of the sand long enough for them to recognize that their beliefs and policy positions do not align with reality and that they are effectively digging their own graves. I'm going to dive more into the specifics of what's going on in our culture and really explain why the dominant political and cultural movements are not making anything better. But for now, I just wanted to share my quick thoughts. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, all of those things. See you next time. Bye.